Welcome back to Studio 11 LA. It has been more than 2 months since ex-LAPD cop-turned-killer Christopher Dorner's fiery death. Now, we've been reporting on a number of officers, past and present, who have said his claims of racism and an unfair disciplinary system that resulted in his being fired are actually true. Phil Schuman's been checking on that, also has a little more on the controversy surrounding that $1 million reward. Phil.
Well, they promised a review of that Dorner firing by April. Now it may be May, but it is in the final stages. That's the word this afternoon on the status of that re-examination of Dorner's termination. It's being handled by a special assistant to the police chief. Was his firing done fairly, as the department has said, or was he forced out for complaining about a supervisor? One woman who's paying close attention to this is a former LAPD sergeant named Cheryl Dorsey.
I heard the chief say the other day that there's no inherent problems with the system. And I mean, I understand he has to say that, but there are problems with the system. Otherwise, we wouldn't be here right now. And so why not be honest? And if you really, really care, Chief Beck, if you really don't want another Dorner to happen, then do something different.
Do something different, retired LAPD Sergeant Cheryl Dorsey says. Chief Beck may do just that. She says they have to avoid another Christopher Dorner. She's heard his claims of racism, of an unfair Board of Rights process, and she believed him because she says she went through much a similar action during her 20 years, though she's adamant that she's proud of her time with the department, as she told our Christine Devine. She says there are still serious ongoing issues that must be dealt with and offers some specifics on how to make the LAPD better.
Have a panel that's objective and unbiased. Treat your officers like you tell your officers to treat the public. Don't condone misconduct by command staff because they're command staff. That'd be a good place to start.
Now, much of this post-Dorner controversy has focused on the LAPD's Board of Rights, as it's called. 2 command staff officers, 1 civilian. That's where they send you if the department believes you've committed an offense you should be fired for. As part of his review, the chief has pledged to look at that decades-old system as well. That's something attorney and former city attorney candidate Greg Smith says is long overdue.
This is the problem with the system. We'll never know if a commander or a deputy chief or a chief talks to any of the captains that are sitting on a Board of Rights. Obviously, that will influence that captain.
And still no resolution on the unprecedented $1 million reward. The city and the police department devised this new plan. You remember, a panel of 3 retired judges going to figure out who gets it. The deadline was Friday for submitting a claim. I'm told at least 10 people have done so, but their names have not been made public. Quite frankly, it's deteriorating into a bit of a legal quagmire. Lawsuits promised. Both a man Dorner carjacked and that couple he tied up in their Big Bear cabin, they're both filing a claim against the city of Riverside now for pulling its $100 grand out of the pot because there was no arrest and conviction. So that makes things even more complicated. Here's a quote: "The fact that Mr. Dorner was not convicted does not excuse the city from paying the reward because of an act of a third party." And then the attorney for the Reynolds, Jim and Karen Reynolds, remember that's the couple up in Big Bear, he said these captured and convicted conditions are not to be literally or strictly interpreted to deny a reward otherwise earned. So we're waiting for 2 major developments: the Dorner termination review, look for that in early May, and the determination of who gets the reward. Both Helterbrake, Rick Helterbrake is that Ranger's name that was carjacked, and the Reynolds think they should get all of it. There's no timetable on when those judges are going to make their decision. But whatever happens in both of these situations, we know that some people are bound to be upset.
And you'll bring us the update. Thank you, Phil. Another controversy.